Being a psychiatric private practice owner has been amazing, but like any business, there's so many different ups and downs, and there are certain things that I wish I would have prioritized early on to help set my business up for success. Luckily for you guys, I'm here to tell you those tips. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 tips to help you succeed right away as a private practice owner. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, Life of a Psych NP. If you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel, I go over several different topics related to mental health, nursing, lifestyle, being a nurse practitioner, and having my own psychiatric private practice. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe. Make sure you like this video because it helps me out so much with the YouTube algorithm, and follow me on Instagram at Life of a Psych NP. So you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out tips to help you succeed as a private practice owner. Whether you're a new private practice owner or you're someone that might be struggling with improving your private practice, or you just want to learn more about what ways for you to succeed as a private practice owner. And this video is going to help all of those above, but it's something that I wish I would have known early on, because if I were to do these certain things, I would have helped myself overall. And the reason why I said set myself up for success is because at the end of the day, the more effort you put up front with being able to lay down the foundations and being able to strategize and being able to see what certain things might cause you some turbulence moving forward, you're able to prepare and get ready for these things. And myself, I never necessarily put in that work up front. So now that I've encountered these situations, it was a lot more difficult for me to do so because of whatever the reason. And that's why I wanted to make this video today, is because there are certain things that I wish I would have known and I wish I would have been told up front, just so I can have that foundation to work from in case any of these issues arrive. And at the end of the day, the more time that you know, especially if you're starting out your private practice or you're thinking about starting your own private practice, now gives you the ability to be able to prepare for these things. So moving forward, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be successful. I'm not saying these tips are going to guarantee success, and it's something to the line where I want you to understand it. I want you to be able to conceptualize it and be able to look at it and be like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to follow these steps in order for me to be successful. And that's understandably how you get there. But it's just a matter of being able to put in that effort and being able to utilize these tips to help yourself be able to be successful. And to be frank, I didn't set these things up in the beginning, or I didn't put as much effort or time into implementing these things in the beginning, and it ended up biting me in the butt. Luckily, I was able to re-strategize, I was able to re-implement certain things and get towards the right direction. I'm not saying we're the most successful practice, but we're definitely getting there. And I do outline a lot of these things in my course, so if you are interested in starting your own private practice, you want to take a course that is loaded with a lot of information, definitely check out my link down below. It's definitely something you want to check out for sure. But without further ado, let's go over my top 5 tips to help you succeed as a psychiatric private practice owner. So let's get started. So my very first tip to help you succeed when starting your own private practice is being able to create and prioritize your business plan. And this is a huge one, because at the end of the day, by not having a business plan, by not being able to put emphasis towards your business plan, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I'm not saying you have to do it every single time. And unfortunately, I didn't do it, but I later backtracked and created one, and it wasn't the same. And I think that when you create one and you prioritize one and you actually take your time doing and creating the business plan, it's going to set you up for way more success in the future compared to someone that hasn't done it. Because when you can't just go into a business willy-nilly and just putting and implementing certain things that you hear from other people, like, oh, this is a good EMR, this is a good insurance to take, this is the population you want to treat, without knowing certain things, because you might do certain things and implement certain things that's convenient for you, but at the end of the day, once you start to grow and once you start to understand what your main end goal is, then you might have to shift in other directions. For me, for example, I didn't necessarily create a business plan right away. I got my practice started, and by the time I started creating a business plan, I was hiring another provider, and then I was hiring another provider. And when I first initially started, I only thought about, okay, this is my window of opportunity to be able to do something, and this is how I want to do it as a solo provider. I knew I wanted to go into a group setting and be able to start a group, but as a solo provider, I only thought, okay, I'm just going to do it and implement certain tools. Now that I grew into having 2, 3, 4 providers, all the tools that I was using, it didn't necessarily work for multiple people. It only worked as a one provider group or one provider show. And I wish I would have been able to take a step back and look and create what my actual business plan is, in terms of, okay, this is the area that I want to target, this is the population I want to target, these are my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, these are my threats. And if I want to be long-term in terms of what's my 5-year plan or my 3-year plan, 5-year plan, and being able to look at those things, I would have known, like, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. So maybe look at the tools that are going to be helpful for in group practices versus individual practices. And that's what killed me. And now that I grew my practice in a sense of just me by myself to 100, 200 patients, when I started handing it off to other people, the same system for me didn't necessarily work for them, and now I had to re-strategize and do everything, and that was a headache within itself. So you definitely want to be able to prioritize your business plan and just make sure you put in the effort. And if you know long-term you want to be able to start a group and not just be a solo private practice owner, then think about the tools that you're using and implement it towards being able to grow and grow beyond what you think you're going to grow. And if I did that and prioritized that, I would have probably put myself in a better situation moving forward, instead of, oh, hey guys, this is our EHR, and oh, hey, we need to implement this, or oh, hey, I need to take away this. It just becomes a headache. So definitely create, prioritize, and take your time when doing your business plan. So my second tip to help you succeed in starting your own private practice is treat your private practice like a business, because it is a business. It's not a hobby. It's not a side thing that you just do on the side because it's for fun. No. It's a business. You're dealing with people's lives. You're dealing with patients. You're dealing with their mental health. So we want to be able to focus on this. And I know it's hard to kind of get caught up, because a lot of the times I always recommend keep your normal job and start your own private practice on the side, because you don't want to just be put in a situation where your private practice can fail and now you're out of luck and don't have money to be able to succeed. And this is something I know you're grinding through Monday through Friday, grinding to your job, and now you have to work either early hours, after hours, or on weekends just to be able to start your private practice. And you can get lax. We're all human, but at the end of the day, you need to treat it like a business. Go into it understanding this is your baby, this is your business. You are going to put 110% effort into it because you are wanting this to succeed. The people that are successful are the people that put in the effort, that put in the work. They go in night and day to be able to grind, to be able to grow your business. For the people that just treat it like, oh, it's a side business, or it's a side hustle, or it's just a hobby because everyone else is starting their own private practice, those are the ones, the people that are going to typically fail, or it's going to be harder for them to succeed because they're not going into it wanting to grow it or wanting to make it succeed. They're just wanting to be like, oh, it's extra money, extra $500, it's great a month, extra $1,000 a month is great. No, treat it like you're going to do it 100%, put 110% effort into it, and grow it as fast and as good as you can. And I'm not saying, well, I shouldn't have probably said fast, but grow it the way you want to grow it. Be able to put in the work to be able to grow and implement certain things for it to succeed. put all of your time and effort into it, and you'll see amazing things, especially if you treat it like a business, not just like a hobby. So my third tip to help you succeed is focus on your numbers. And this is a huge one. And a lot of times, especially as a private practice owner, especially if you're starting it on the side, you're not necessarily looking at the numbers. You're thinking, oh, I have my job, I can just be able to implement this, implement that, implement this, and sooner or later you're spending a bunch of money. But it doesn't seem like you're spending a bunch of money because you still have your normal job that's going to supplement your life, and all the extra money from your private practice is just being put into private practice. So it doesn't seem like, oh, I have enough money to be able to do all of those things. Yes, it's true, but at the same time, the whole goal is to be able, for majority of people, is to be able to get rid of their normal 9-to-5 and being able to grow their private practice and be efficient and be profitable, right? So if you're spending so much money and you're not necessarily looking at the numbers, following the numbers, and being able to see where other areas you could reduce expenses to be able to be more profitable early on, then it's going to set you up for failure, especially when you start to take away 1 or 2 days from your normal job, or even just quit your normal job and just purely rely on the money you make on your private practice. And you're going to look at it and be like, damn, where's all this money going? And unfortunately, I was in that situation, and I constantly live in this fear of not being able to afford my lifestyle, be able to afford to pay for my staff. So that's why I have extra jobs and other jobs to be able to supplement it. But initially when I first got rid of majority of my jobs to purely focus on my private practice, I didn't necessarily know where all my money was going. I knew that I was making way more money than I probably should have, but when I looked at it at the end of the day, it's like, dang, where my EMR costs this much, my phone system costs this much, my expenses when it comes to rent costs this much, and I could have just looked at it early on and be like, oh dang, I could have just saved money here, I could have saved money here in order for me to be profitable. And now that I looked at those numbers, I had to backtrack and be like, okay, let's try this out to be able to help save costs, and let's reduce on this amount to save costs. And sooner or later became one of those things where I started focusing more purely on the numbers. And when you focus more purely on the numbers, you'll get to start to understand, okay, this is how you can make it sustainable. Because a lot of the times, especially for those businesses that fail, is because they put so much money into random things that they don't necessarily need up front, thinking that it's going to help them succeed. But in reality, it's not necessarily needed until you grow to a certain extent. So I think that's something we have to kind of understand, is you need to focus on the numbers. Even though you're not making much, even though that you're only implementing certain systems that might not cost you a lot, focus on the numbers. Focus on where you can save money. Focus where you're always in the green instead of the red. And once you start to do that, you'll start to notice, okay, this is how you're going to succeed. Because later on down the road, you're going to have to deal with, okay, hiring staff, maybe hiring another nurse practitioner. And especially if you're paying them up front, or especially for the front desk staff, you're paying them, you have to make sure you have enough money to afford them. And if you're paying the providers up front, whether they're salary, hourly, you have to make sure that you can afford it. Because if all of these other expenses are everywhere and you don't know your numbers, then more than likely you're going to end up in the red moving forward. So my fourth tip to help you succeed when starting your own private practice is focus on customer service. And the reason why I say focus on customer service, especially being in a field where a lot of it is just patient care, but customer service is huge. And patients have a choice nowadays. They can go to this provider, that provider, this provider, especially in areas that are heavily populated. But if they're in rural areas, it's harder, so customer service technically doesn't matter. But you want to be able to focus on customer service regardless, because once more and more people are starting to open their private practice, it's going to become more competitive. And now that patients have a choice on where they want to go to, this is going to be the differentiating thing to set you apart from other providers, by being able to make a good first impression, by being able to be building that rapport, have good customer service skills. And this is important. And luckily for me, I was in sales throughout my whole life prior to becoming a nurse. So I was able to understand how I can prioritize and being able to kind of just sell that dream for patients. But not a lot of people will do that. They're purely relying on what they know as a provider. Yes, it's important to be able to be a knowledgeable provider, but if you don't necessarily have good customer service skills, they're not going to want to go to you. And that's going to be the biggest thing at the end of the day, is being able to provide high quality customer service, because data has shown that when you get good customer service, a lot of the times they're going to believe in you as a provider because of the relationship you build. And if things happen or you make a mistake, their likelihood of forgiving you is going to be a lot higher because they've known and you've built the relationship on a personal level, so they're willing to come back and give you another try, compared to someone that might mess up and they haven't necessarily built that rapport or built that relationship, and they're just going to end up going to someone else because they don't trust you to begin with. So this is key, and this is very, very important. So focus on your customer service. Your first impression is key, so make sure you make it a good one. So my fifth and final tip to help you succeed when starting your own private practice is make sure you are clinically competent. And this is a big one. I hear about new grads going to private practice, and a lot of the times it's harder for them. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm not saying don't do it, but it's just a lot more difficult, because not only are you learning how to start your own business or your own private practice, but you're learning how to be able to treat patients. And typically speaking, I say don't do it. It's unless you have a mentor, unless you have a really good collaborating or supervising psychiatrist that's willing to teach you to be able to go through multiple patients and multiple scenarios there every single visit, for you to feel confident and being able to see patients and feel confident. But typically speaking, make sure you're clinically competent prior to starting your own private practice, because it's hard. Just starting your own private practice alone is already difficult, but now imagine being a new grad, being someone that's just learning about how to swim and having to deal with both going on at the same time. And it's something that I don't recommend you, especially as a new grad, but make sure you focus in on being clinically competent, because regardless if you're in a certain situations where you only take commercial insurances, or you only take high-end insurances, or you only take cash pay, you're thinking that you're going to get the less acute patients, but a lot of the times that's not the case. You're going to get sick patients. You're going to get patients that need focused and need high quality care that maybe someone with way more experience will be able to take care of. You don't want to be a provider that thinks they know everything and just put yourself in a situation where it's going to be dangerous, or you're doing your patient a disservice by not being able to provide them with care because you don't necessarily know certain things and how to treat them, but you're just treating them willy-nilly, not even caring because you need patients. No, make sure you are clinically competent, because at the end of the day, you're not going to know what's going to present itself in front of you, and you don't want to be caught up in a situation where now you're screwing yourself up. Maybe you're risking your license, and all of that hard work just to get there and even start your own private practice goes down the drain. So make sure you're experienced and clinically competent to be able to open up your private practice. Well guys, I know this was a longer video, but at the same time, I felt like this is certain things in this video that you need to know, and for you to recognize that these are going to be the things that ultimately are going to help you succeed. This is the foundation of being able to provide and being able to start your private practice. And like I said, at the end of the day, it comes down to what you feel like is going to be best for you in your situation. But this is what I've learned from my own experience on how to succeed, or how to be able to set myself for success, and what I've taught, especially in the course that I made with my buddies, and then just being able to mentor other private practice owners. And this is what they've done, that they were successful. So yeah, just take it as you please. And I think at the end of the day, implement what's going to be best for you, what you feel is going to be best for you, and just constantly adjusting and constantly learning, constantly growing. But like I said, the more effort you put into it, the more time and patience you put into it, the more that you understand and focus in on your numbers, focus in on your patient care, focus in on your customer service, and focus in on just implementing things the right way the first time. A lot of the times you're going to be way more successful compared to someone that was unprepared. So definitely make sure you prepare. Alright guys, have a wonderful day, and if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up because it helps me so much. Follow me on Instagram and have a wonderful day. Bye!